Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Today we are going to explain the proverbs in English and Arabic. The proverbs of English and then the proverbs of Arabic. Are they equivalent to each other? What does the proverb mean? How could we translate the proverb? Is it translated word by word, or is it translated as one unit? Does it refer to the tradition of the nation, or is it normal speech? It's not normal speech. It refers to the traditions of the nation, the traditions of the community. It refers to facts. It refers to facts. So if you need to translate the proverb of the English language or any of other languages, this means that you have to understand the culture of the language. You have to be familiar with the tradition of the native speakers of the language. Okay? Otherwise, you face difficulty in translation. Anyway, what's proverb? What does it mean, proverb? According to Oxford Dictionary, proverb is a short saying in general use. It's a short saying. It's not long saying. When I say, for example, stitch in time saves 9. Okay? For this proverb, it's very short, but gives sufficient meaning. Stitch in time saves 9. We have here 3 forms of translation. We have what is called formal translation, functional translation, and ideational translation. When I say for formal translation, الغرزة في مكانها هي بدلا من 9 أو أحسن من 9 غرز. Okay, this is called formal translation. But if you speak about functional or ideational translation, التدبير نصف المعيشة. الوقاية خير من العلاج. Stitch in time saves 9. Okay? So it's very far from the formal translation. يعني the meaning of the individual words in the proverb. So it is taken as one unit. Okay? You have to take care in translation, once translating the proverb, not to translate literally. Okay? We have to think about the ideational translation and also functional translation. Anyway, we are going to touch the proverbs and see how could we have a shortcut way for the correct and perfect translation. Okay? Let's see. As I mentioned, the proverb refers to the truth. It refers to the tradition. It refers to the facts. Okay? It comes as a group of words established by the usage and having a meaning not deducible from those of the individual words. The meaning cannot be deduced from the individual words of the proverb itself. Okay? But it gets the meaning from the whole meaning compared with the tradition and the culture of the language. So, we have a proverb or a saying stating that if you need to know about any people, you must know their proverbs. Because the proverbs narrate the story of the nation, the tradition of the nation. Okay? Here, for example, we have different proverbs that refer to the culture of nations. The American tribes often reflect their view of the land as sacred. They love the land, and they consider the land as sacred thing. So they have the proverb, take only what you need and leave the land as you found it. So this proverb refers to the care on land, okay? The love of land. This is the tradition of the Americans, some American tribes. The Japanese, for example, focus on morals. So we have their proverb stating, an evil deed remains with the evildoer. So the tradition focus on morals and discretion. So the tongue is like a sharp knife. It kills without drawing blood. If you just think deeply on these two proverbs, you find them speaking about morals. The first one, speak about the evil deeds and the evildoers. And the second example, the second proverb refers to the backbiting, namima, and the bad saying. Okay? So these are types of morals. So morals here are parts of the characteristics of the Japanese. The Mexican people also have their own values, mainly the rural people. Okay? The average person on the street can have its own character reflected on the proverb itself. So the proverb refers to the hopes of those common people. So we have their proverb which states, hope dies last of all. So they live on hopes. These are the Mexicans. So we have the proverbs of Americans, Japanese, and Mexicans. Okay? The Mexicans do not feel with any desperate feeling. They don't feel desperate at all. Okay? The Japanese focus on moral values. The American tribes love the land. So we have their proverbs referring to these ideas, okay, very clearly. This shows clearly that the proverb refers to facts, refers to the truth of the nation. It refers to the tradition, the history of the nation. If you need to understand the history of the nation, you have to refer or to consult their proverbs. Okay? So anyone who would like to touch our Palestinian culture must touch our proverbs. Okay? Because our popular proverbs reflect our own character, our own culture, our own civilization. This means that once you translate, you have not to look on words. You have to look on the general meaning compared with the culture of the people, and to focus on the ideational translation, not the formal translation. Otherwise, you give another meaning. Okay? Now, if you look to the origin of the English proverbs, I can very, very simply state that the proverb has mostly unknown history. We don't know about the origin of lots of proverbs because these are sayings originally said by individuals, then repeated by others, and by the run of time they became as a sort of wisdom which changes to proverb. So they are repeated by people by the run of time, and they are transferred from generation to another until reaching us. So we don't know the origin of these proverbs except some. Okay? We have some proverbs are derived from literature, for example, like the literature of Shakespeare in medievals. We have some proverbs derived from the Bible. Some other proverbs are originally Latin or Greek or Portuguese, so they are borrowed from other languages. You have lots of Arabic proverbs available in English. You have lots of Arabic vocabulary available in English. We counted 10,000 words, okay, in English dictionary, originally derived from Arabic. So we have Arabic proverbs inserted in the English dictionary or the English proverbs. Okay, we have a collection of proverbs available in many languages, but if you look to their origin, you find them already borrowed from other languages. Okay? So, in general, we can assume that proverbs with a more abstract type of wisdom began life in this way. Proverbs like the end justifies the means, which appears to have taken its bow in a 17th century. The ends justifies the means. الغاية تبرر الوسيلة. Okay? So this is available, or it was available in the 17th century theological treatise. Okay? Or the wish is father to the thought, which as far as we know was first given expression to by Julius Caesar, or a soft answer turneth away wrath. This is directly driven from the Bible. Okay? But most of the proverbs are borrowed from other cultures. Okay? This is, we speak about English proverbs. But it's very difficult to decide the source of the proverb itself. Some proverbs are originally derived or borrowed from Latin, French, or Spanish. But there is no proof about that, about the origin of the proverb. We understand that this proverb is not English originally. It may be derived from other cultures. But we cannot say that this is Latin, this Portuguese. We just assume that. So we have some sort of assumptions mostly about most of the proverbs. Here we have the proverbs derived from the Bible appear very clearly. Okay? Okay? We have the hardiest free thinkers or thinker will show no hesitation in drawing upon them to illustrate a rational point. Any thinker relies on proverbs derived from the Bible. Completely like us, once you write your composition or your essay or you give a talk, you rely to the Holy Quran, to verses from the Holy Quran, okay? And you rely to some discourse from the Prophet, okay? So we have prophetic discourse and we have Quranic verses that are relied on for just exemplifying or solidifying our talk or our speech, our writing, our expressions, for expressing a certain idea or for conveying a certain idea to the people. We rely on these sources. This corresponds to the Christians who rely on the Bible for taking some proverbs. These proverbs originally are religious, okay? So they are taken from the Bible, maybe from the Quran, and from the holy books, other holy books. Once I say, for example, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. العين بصيرة والإيد قصيرة. This is Biblic proverb. Okay? If we translate this formally, we come out with incorrect translation. الروح ترغب والجسد ضعيف. It's quite difficult, quite far from the original meaning. So we rely on what is called ideational translation, okay, or functional translation. We have also some proverbs which are derived from literary sources, mainly Shakespeare, okay. These proverbs are attributed to the products of Shakespeare in his plays. Cowards die many times before their deaths. Okay? Cowards die many times before their deaths. Here we have الجبناء يموت الجبناء عدة مرات قبل أن يموتوا. Okay? So this is patriotic proverb. It refers to patriotic meaning available in Shakespeare's writing. Okay? While speaking about the nation or the people in the medievals or in the medieval age. Okay, in the 16th century. So he might speak about patriotism, okay, and nationalism. Here, he cited this example to show those wicked people, coward people, evil people who fear death and cannot sacrifice themselves for the sake of their nation, for the sake of their country. Okay? So this is literary proverb. So we have proverbs borrowed from other cultures, proverbs borrowed from the Bible, and proverbs borrowed from literary sources, like Shakespeare, for example. Now, we come to what's called interpretation. The interpretation of the proverb. How are proverbs to be interpreted? What's their full meaning? We understand that the real words of the proverb cannot give the exact and the specific meaning. Okay? But the proverb is taken as one unit. Okay? So, and we take the meaning as also one unit. This must be connected with the tradition or the culture of the language, okay, or say the community. So this means that if you need to translate or to interpret the proverb, you have not to look very, very deeply and very carefully to the words. You have to understand the meaning and the tradition and to assume or to predict the ideational meaning of the proverb. I mean the ideational, you have to translate ideationally, and you have to focus on ideational or at least functional translation. So we have the example, a stitch in time saves 9. This is the literal translation as we translated just 5 minutes ago. غرزة في مكانها أو موعدها أفضل من 9. Okay? But this is not the correct translation, not the correct interpretation. A stitch in time saves 9 was the literal truth the busy housewife had learned in looking after the family's clothes. Okay? So, I mean, this one refers to house life. When I say التدبير نصف المعيشة, we mean how to run your house, how to run your home life, how to run your living very systematically and carefully. Okay? And we can take the ideational translation, which refers to the treatment, how to care about your health. الوقاية خير من قنطار علاج أو العلاج. درهم وقاية خير من قنطار علاج. We have the proverbs available in education. So, we have a space for the proverb in the classroom. And this was available right from the 10th century. Okay? We have this appear very clearly in the educational system or the British educational system. Most of the proverbs here may be taken from other languages like Latin. Okay? So we have many generations from children transfer this proverb which they take at school from one generation to another. Okay? So, to have a proper way of teaching, we can introduce proverbs within our saying. To have a proper essay, you can use a proverb or many proverbs in your writing. The more you use proverbs, the more you solidify your writing, the more you reinforce your expressions, the more you clarify your idea. Okay? So the shortcut way for the proper and solidified composition or essay is the insertion of proverbs. The more you introduce proverbs in your writing, the more you introduce proverbs in your language, the more you are expressive. Okay? Even in our culture, the guy who uses more proverbs in his saying or her saying is looked to as a wise man. And he deserves listening to listen to. He deserves listening to him. So we respect or we pay high respect to those who use proverbs within their talk. Okay? Because we can judge people not according to their appearance, but according to the language they produce. the speech they say. So the more you utter proverbs, the more you cite proverbs, the more you appear in the eyes of others as a wise man or a wise lady. Okay? So you have lots of proverbs are of similar meanings. Once I say, for example, once bitten, twice shy. A pale child dreads the fire. Barking dogs seldom bite. Enough is good as a feast. Many a little makes a mickle. Okay? So you have the same meaning. Okay? These proverbs, they differ in language. They are very close to each other in meaning. Okay? We rely on them or on these proverbs just to solidify our own language. We have here lots of proverbs I need to cite and to analyze with you. Yes, pay attention, please. As we mentioned, we have three types of translation for the proverbs. We have the formal, functional, and ideational proverb. The treaty has remained dead letter since then. وبقيت المعاهدة حبرا على ورق. This is the functional translation. But I need the formal translation. وبقيت المعاهدة حرفا ميتا. Okay? حرفا ميتا. So this is literal translation. Refers to the formal translation. Okay? In which we translate the proverb word by word. But ideationally بقيت الاتفاقية دون تطبيق. أوكي؟ على الإطلاق لم تطبق الاتفاقية أو المعاهدة حتى الآن. Okay? When I say, for example, out of the frying pan into the fire, when I put it just in a sentence like Ali's decision to leave his job for a new one was ill thought. Out of the frying pan into the fire. Just formally, we can say, what we can say formally, لم يكن قرار علي بترك وظيفته والشروع بأخرى حكيما أو صائبا كان كالقافز من المقلاة في النار. كان كالقافز من المقلاة في النار. Okay? However, this translation is formal. Okay? How could we translate functionally? يعني لم يكن قرار علي حكيما عندما ترك الوظيفة بينما كان كالمستجير من الرمضاء بالنار. صار هنا ايش؟ Functional translation. Now I need ideational translation. So what could we say? How could we translate this? يعني لم يكن قرار علي بترك وظيفته أمرا أو قرارا حكيما فقد صارت الأمور من سيء إلى الأسوأ. So كان كالقافز من المقلاة في النار. This is formal. Okay? Which is quite difficult. Okay, it's difficult to understand. كالمستجير من الرمضاء بالنار. This is form. This is functional. It's quite accepted. It's near to your understanding, to your thoughts, to your mentality. However, once speaking about صارت الأمور من سيء إلى أسوأ becomes very clear, can be understood by all types of people regardless to their culture. يعني by ordinary people. Okay? So the example, or say the proverb, becomes popular. Okay? Because it's easy to understand. Okay? Like father, like son. من شابه أباه ما ظلم. Okay? This is what? Functional translation. طيب formal translation. الولد لأبيه. The girl is for her mom. البنت لأمه. This is formal. Functional. This is ideational. يعني اقلب الجرة على طيب. So this relates to our own Palestinian culture. Okay? A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Okay. So this is the ideational translation. However, formal translation, عصفور في اليد خيرا من اثنين على الشجرة. Action speaks, or actions speak louder than words. أبلغ من الأقوال. الأفعال أبلغ من الأقوال. Okay? طيب. Once I say the spirit is willing but the flesh is weak, this is biblical proverb as we mentioned. العين بصيرة واليد قصيرة. This is ideational. طيب. Don't count your chickens before they are hatched. يعني this is ideational translation. Refers to our own culture. لما يجي الصبي بنصلي على النبي. Okay? It's from our own dialect, from our own Palestinian dialect. Okay? A live dog is better than a dead lion. كلب حي خير من أسد ميت. Okay? كلب حي ولا سبع ميت. This is, okay, ideational translation. So this is, and this refers to the culture, the Islamic culture. Is this from the Islamic culture? No, certainly no. This is directly driven from the Jewish culture. Yes. لتجدنهم أحرص الناس على حياة. أي حياة. So they have this proverb in their culture. A live dog is better than a dead lion. You understand? Okay. After a storm comes calm. يأتي الهدوء بعد العاصفة. And the ideational translation is إن مع العسر يسرا. إن مع العسر يسرا. Okay? ما بعد الضيق إلا الفرج. شيك? So we have, this is as ideational translation for the same proverb. طيب. Once I say, for example, يلا إلك أشوف. Ali added insult to injury instead of solving the problem. زاد الطين بلة، يعني زاد على الطين بلة بدل أن يحل المشكلة. Okay, this is functional translation. What about ideational translation? عقد علي المشكلة بدلا من أن يحلها، بدلا من حلها عقدها. أوكي. طيب، فاطمة، وين فاطمة؟ وين راحت؟ طيب، جاوبي يا فاطمة. حنان or Fatma has wide experience in teaching. This is functional translation. طيب، ideational translation. لا خبرة طويلة في التعليم. Okay, fine. So we have, as you see, 3 types of translation for the proverb. Here we focus on the ideational translation, or we can accept also the functional translation. Let's see. Once I say, don't cry over split milk. This is the formal translation. That problem is over, move on. Okay? It means that problem is over. Move on. Okay? يعني what happened? Happened. Okay? بمعنى اللي فات. يعني let bygones be bygones. Okay? Don't count your chickens until they are hatched. Wait for success to celebrate. يعني ماشي. Wait for success to celebrate. يعني لا تحتفل قبل أن تنجح. When the cat's away, the mice will play. This is the ideational translation. Some work only when the boss watches. يعني some work only when the boss watches. But once the boss is absent, okay, this means that there will be no work. Okay, a penny saved is a penny earned. It means not spending is the same as earning money. Is this the ideational translation of the proverb? القرش الأبيض بينفع في اليوم الأسود. So this refers to saving money. Okay? But you have to be generous يعني. Beggars should not be choosers. طيب, don't complain about free gifts. So once you have a gift, don't complain about it. You have to accept whatever it is. Okay? You can't lead a horse to water, but you can't make them. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Okay? What does this mean? يعني you can only help those who want help. يعني لابد أن تقدم المساعدة لمن يطلبها أو يحتاجها. Okay? Birds of a feather flock together. يعني طيب, birds over go together. Birds over go together. It's the same. The same proverb. الطيور على أشكالها تقع. المرء على دين خليله. This is ideational translation. You can't have your cake and eat it too. What does this mean? You can't have your cake and eat it too. ليس كل ما يتمناه المرء يدركه. This is ideational translation. يعني you can't use and save the same item. A barking dog never bites. Many people talk without any action. Do we have equivalent proverb in our own culture? لا تقل ما لا تفعل. It is similar to the verse in Surah Al-Saff, I think. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقول يا أيها الذين آمنوا لما تقولون ما لا تفعلون كبر مقتا عند الله أن تقولوا ما لا تفعلون. Okay, Rome wasn't built in a day. يعني be patient and keep struggling. بمعنى we have a proverb similar to it in our own culture. So it can be translated ideationally as في التأني سلامة وفي العجلة الندامة. Necessity is the mother of invention. الحاجة أم الاختراع. يعني we create things once we need them. طيب, a fox smells its own lair first. If you are the first person to notice a fault in someone else because you have the same fault, تمام 100%. طيب, ايش حكيتي؟ علي صوتك بس. بالضبط, it refers to the same line in the poem لسانك عورة ولسانك عورة. لسانك لا تذكر به عورة امرئ فكلك عورة وللناس ألسن. صحيح. طيب, we have lots of proverbs. I cited here more than 300 proverbs written to you. I am going to have these slides and this folder of proverbs on my web page, so you can have a look on them. You can read them, learn them by heart, because it's very easy to translate them in future. We need to touch the proverbs next time once again to see these proverbs and translate them. And we are going to touch the Arabic proverbs and how could we translate from Arabic to English. Okay? That's for today. Thank you.